Hi, I'm Max Keiser, and this is, of course, the Keiser Report. Markets, finance, and scandals, and the collapse of the global economy. We've been reporting on it now for a number of months as the global deflationary spiral takes its toll. The joke of it all is that no matter how many loans they inject into the system, there's a wall of $20 trillion in bad debt that's going to suck up any liquidity going for the next 5 to 10 years. The deflationary spiral that's causing huge spikes in unemployment and wage deterioration and quality of life collapse in America and Britain and around the world is upon us. No amount of cash injection or loan forcing will change that, because these banks colluding with the governments have yet to disclose the full extent of the shadow banking system. Another $20 trillion in bad debt yet to be revealed.
But Max, there is the other side of the equation of deflation is hyperinflation. And Vince Cable could get what he wants, and that might be a collapse of the currency if you cause hyperinflation. Because right now, all of that new money, all that quantitative easing, and remember, the UK has had the most of anybody as on a percentage basis, on a per capita basis. And it's just sitting there on the bank's balance sheet. So if they start lending it out, you could have a Weimar Germany sort of situation.
Well, that's an excellent point. I think people need to get their terms straight. You've got inflation and you've got disinflation. Then you've got deflation versus hyperinflation. Did I say that correct? Yes, I did. So deflation equals hyperinflation. They're two sides of the same coin. Similar inflation and disinflation are, let's say, what Milton Friedman would refer to as the monetary event needed to control prices and price parity and wages in an economy. But we're well past Milton Friedmanism. We're well past neoliberalism. We're well past Barack Obamaism. Remember, Barack Obama is a Chicago school trained economist who believes in Milton Friedmanism, believes in neoliberalism, but we're well past that. We're into Weimar Republic hyperinflation currency collapsism.
Actually, on this, according to the Telegraph in the UK, the biggest book by city bankers in the City of London this year, they're all fighting to get it, and so much that there's so much demand for it that it's at $700 on eBay now. Dying of Money: Lessons of the Great German and American Inflations, which were the hyperinflations and the crises of the Great Depression. With a foreword, of course, from Ben Bernanke. Thanks, Stacy Herbert, for being on the Keiser Report.
Everybody in every single day they live their lives makes choices, right? They choose where to have their money. What bank do they have their money in? They choose what to buy, what to eat, and sometimes people don't have these choices, but a lot of people do have choices. So in other words, I think that the rallying cry that I would say, and you can make this through the alternative media, is, okay, well, protests in the street don't do any good because they'll put out police state thugs or demonize you or whatever. That's not the direction we want to go in. I think we do need to go in a sort of 21st century direction. And what that means is this sort of, I'm going to write about this in the future, but it's this idea of conscious capitalism, right? Which is essentially you need to think every single day what you're doing, what you're spending your dollar on. And if you do that and you adjust your life and everyone does that, the whole thing will crumble. So in other words, if people decide not to buy the $200 Coach bag, but decide to buy a $100 handmade bag made by their neighbor's daughter, let's say, that the world will change if everyone does that. I truly do believe that. Because, and the same thing goes for gold, as we've discussed. So refuse to use their money, refuse to buy the corporate products, and think about where you have your money, what bank you have your money in. I have what money I have in the bank is not in one of the big U.S. banks, and that's a conscious decision. And I think that if people make those sorts of choices, the structure has nowhere to go but fall, collapse on itself.
Well, there's no appetite and there's no incentive for social justice in America. If anything, there's a rise of the ideologues who are vilifying and scapegoating minorities, like the Mexicans who are coming in over the border. And you see the rise of fascism a lot faster than you're seeing the rise of any progressive party. But let's move on to financial reform for a second. Barack Obama signing the bill for financial reform, he said, quote, "Because of this law, the American people will never again be asked to foot the bill for Wall Street's mistakes." Your thoughts, Michael Krieger?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's more propaganda. If you really take a step back and think about, what they're passing and what's been done since this crisis and what hasn't been done, then you can see the bigger picture. For example, who's gone to jail? I mean, this was one of the biggest criminal acts, financial coup d'etats, as you've mentioned, the United States or the world has ever seen on a global scale. And the instrumental players in this process are walking around free with all their money. It's preposterous. So I mean that's how I look at this. And then they pass these bills that are extremely complicated that the lobbyists are involved in writing. And so what ends up happening is you just create more confusion, more fear, more uncertainty, and the people that actually created the crisis go free with all their money and move on with their lives. So it's to me just a distraction to keep people's eyes off the ball. In a similar vein, for example, audit the Fed bill. Remember that? Had over 300 co-sponsors in the House, had over 30 co-sponsors in the Senate. The thing just evaporated, and now this bill gives the Fed more power. And the amazing thing is, if you watched any of the hearings last week, it was embarrassing. Our Congress people were basically telling Bernanke how great it was that they actually survived, the Fed actually survived independent and with more power. So that's what I think people need to understand, that there's a corporate, military, financial elite that creates policy, pushes through policy, and that is just further evident in this bill as far as I'm concerned. It's keeping people distracted, keeping people away from the real issues and the real perpetrators of crime.
Well, in the bill, there's the provisions for a financial consumer watchdog agency. Elizabeth Warren's name has been bandied about. Clearly, if the American people wanted to relieve themselves from being victimized by financial terrorists, they would put William K. Black in that position. He put over 1,000 bankers in jail after the S&L crisis, and you'd get rid of some of these opportunistic financial terrorists that are stealing your money. But I'm not convinced that the average American is truly seeking freedom from this. I think they at this point they've got now a taste of what it's like to be subjected to this kind of tyranny, and I think they like it. Well, anyway, that's all the time we have for today. Michael Krieger, thanks again for being on the Keiser Report.
Thanks, Max and Stacy. Appreciate it.
All righty, and that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with Max Keiser and Stacy Herbert. If you want to send me an email, please do so at keiserreport@rttv.ru. Until next time, this is Max Keiser saying bye, y'all.